They say you never forget your first time. Well, my first time, they made a DVD about it. I'm going to talk about it right now. Hey everybody, Chris King here with Love Live Music. If you've never been here before, thanks so much for clicking the button to watch my video. If you dig it, I hope that you subscribe or at least hit the like button for me. That would be awesome. I like to talk about live music, and if you've been here before, you know that I like to talk about some of my favorite bands as well. Live music to me is just an amazing thing that I've followed my whole life. I've been in this business where I book shows. I've been fortunate enough to see a lot of great things and a lot of great concerts. And one of them that I stumbled into years ago in Chicago, Illinois, was U2. They were performing in May of 2005. I happened to be on a family trip up in that area, and I said, you know what? I'm going to go grab a ticket for this. I'm going to fly solo to go see U2. And as fate would have it, they were recording a DVD over the course of a couple of nights there at the United Center. So I was happy to get to see the show, and also happy that they put it out later on in the year, or maybe it was the following year. It doesn't really matter. Which is what I'm going to talk about today, is a reaction, a review, a response to the U2 Vertigo 2015 live from Chicago. I'm sorry, 2005 live from Chicago. Yeah, it was 16 years ago, man. So as I said, it was my first time to see U2. I'll save the bulk of my U2 thoughts and stories for a video for another day where I'm thinking about a showcase of some of my favorite artists. Today I want to specifically talk about this moment in time, because music is timeless, but live music is a moment in time. And the moment in time is me going to the United Center, flying solo to the concert, because sometimes if you go by yourself, that's the best way to get the good seats. U2 is always known for bringing a great opening band out on the road with them. In fact, really, it's one of many comparisons I've got between U2 and the Rolling Stones. And that's whenever the Stones go out, they always take an amazing support act, someone that's really either on their way up or already there. And U2, every time I've seen them, now it's been the same. On this particular night, they had Kings of Leon open. So I got to the arena in time. I had really good-ish seats. I wasn't in the gold circle. If you're familiar with how U2 does their staging, sometimes there's, at least in this instance on this tour, there was a circle for Bono to walk around kind of half of the floor area, and people were inside the circle or they were outside the circle. The floor was completely general admission. I was up in some seats like stage right, about halfway on the marker of the circle. So I don't know, if it was a football stadium, you'd say maybe I was at the 20-yard line, close to the stage. And seats were great. Kings of Leon, I don't remember a whole lot of their set. Kings of Leon finishes, house music comes up, and then Arcade Fire's Wake Up starts playing. And at this point, Arcade Fire, they were still on their first album, the one that has Wake Up. And not everybody in the world was hip to it, but a certain group of people were, and when that song started, it was awesome. I remember jumping up in my seat because that song was bringing so much adrenaline, and surely U2, this was their intro music, and here we go. So we start things off with City of Blinding Lights. Not an overwhelming starter watching this. I remember just being there and being excited that they were starting. From there, we go into Vertigo, and Vertigo's a song that I don't love when I hear it on the radio, but seeing it live, the crunch of the guitar, the loudness, it is one of the top tier U2 rock songs where they really are just freaking rocking it. I like the speed. I like the volume of everybody on Vertigo. Vertigo just rocks so hard. It's cool that they show the Edge, and he's wearing Chuck Taylors, and you can see his little set list and his pedal board. And, I don't think I realized until I saw U2 that it's just those four guys on stage. And I felt the same way when I saw The Police, which I think was a few years after this. But it's just those four guys. They don't have backup singers. They don't have additional musicians. They don't have like a surprise keyboard player or saxophone player kind of hanging out in the wings. It's those four guys making the noise. And boy, does the Edge do so much heavy lifting with the audio, with all the sounds that he makes out of his guitar. It's just really amazing, and it's fun to watch. Then we get into something that I see so much when I see U2 perform now. They go into Elevation, and it starts off with a little call and response with the audience. And if you saw other U2 tours, that's really something that's a big takeaway for me from seeing U2. It is not unlike if you watch a World Cup soccer game on TV and the crowd is just always in their chants and yelling. And I know you see it in some MLS games too, some Olympic soccer, but how the crowd is so into it. And that's what really reminds me of seeing U2. And the first time I saw it live was when they go into Elevation on this show. I like how Elevation starts. Bono, before he can hit the first few notes, he has to cough. He says, "I've got a frog in my throat." You know, that's the kind of stuff that you don't get on the record. That's the kind of stuff that we love about live music, is little mistakes that get left in. You know, if you've listened to any live album, I'm sure you've heard that. We go into some deeper cuts from early albums: Cry, Electric Company, or Electric Co. I think it's Electric Company. There's a nice little snippet of the Smashing Pumpkins' Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Bullet with Butterfly Wings. I don't know if they did this on every night of the tour where he goes into Despite All My Rage is Still Just a Rat in a Cage on Electric Co. But he did it here, and it might just be a nod to the Pumpkins being a Chicago band, but it was a nice touch. Then we go into Beautiful Day, and man, that one still slaps so hard. It just gets the energy of the arena going. And at that point, you're like, okay, is this the peak? Is it going to get any better than this? And my God, does it get better than this? We go into New Year's Day from there. And New Year's Day, that song, that will probably always be kind of my earliest memory of U2. Seeing that video on MTV back in the early 80s, the guys walking through the snow and how dark the music sounds. And this is, you know, another one of those points where I'm looking at them and I'm like, yeah, it's just these four guys, because the Edge is over there playing the keys on New Year's Day, you know, the familiar refrain of it. That moment is probably where it really clicked to me that, yeah, they do it all. And that's a great thing about seeing U2 or seeing a band with such a catalog, is that they've got so many classic songs, you can't hear them all in one show. So you never know exactly what you're going to get. Coming out of New Year's Day, we go into some of the lesser known songs. And this set list features quite a few of those, unless you're a super U2 fan, right? We go to Miracle Drug, and then Sometimes You Can't Make It on Your Own, which was a larger hit. Not one of their biggest ones, but it was one that got significant radio play. Love and Peace or Else. And then that leads us into Bono banging on a drum out in the middle of the Gold Circle on his walkway out there. And he's banging on this drum, and kind of gives it a little bit of a Bono drum solo towards the end. And you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting. And then ba-da-da-da, bop, Larry Mullen Jr. starts it off. Sunday, Bloody Sunday. And let me tell you, besides the fact that that's an awesome song with an awesome drum opening, Larry Mullen might be the softest hitting drummer in a large band. He's tasteful. He's always on time. He's a great drummer. He never looks like he's really wailing on them. You know, he just looks like he's playing them very tastefully. I bet he's a very polite man. And man, is Edge playing a good-looking guitar. Silver, glittery, it's amazing. And he switches guitars numerous times. So if you're a guitar head, you need to watch this video. We come out of Sunday, Bloody Sunday, go into one of my favorite deeper cut U2 songs. Bullet the Blue Sky. I really like the Rattle and Hum version, which was live. So getting to hear it performed live, I'm like, this is my jam. I'm so excited to hear it. From there, we go into Running to Stand Still. And I thought it was interesting because he opened Running to Stand Still with a dedication. Bono says, I want to dedicate this to the brave men and women of the United States military. And he got a huge response from the crowd. And I just think, 15 years later, I don't know if that would still get the same response. U2 preaches a unity. Man, I just wish that we were all getting back to that, or we never left that. Now we get to all the heavy hitters in the set list. You go Pride in the Name of Love with a nice tribute to Dr. King at the end of that. Where the Streets Have No Name, huge hit. Reminds me of my favorite U2 joke about U2 putting out a GPS system for your car. And I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and All the Streets Have No Name. Finally, we get to the climax as we've just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. Now we're on to One. And One is done a little differently on the video here than a lot of the other numbers. And in that, I really mean they take some time on this one to just focus on the four guys on the stage. Bono's off of his ramp area. He's back on the stage. The four guys, they've got a 360 camera that does a run around. And so it shows us all sides of them on stage. And a lot of this concert video and concert videos in general drive me crazy sometimes with all the cuts and all the edits that make it look more like a music video instead of a representation of a live show. And they take some times, this moment in particular, to really just focus, because this song, One, it's one of those that you want to kind of meditate on while they're playing it, and it's done really well on this. And that leads us to our encore. The encore on the DVD, a little bit different than the encore that I saw. We start off, we go to Zoo Station, which, I never listened to that album. Was that? Zoo Station was the tour, Lemon was the album? I just know I wasn't listening to them at this time. From there, we go into The Fly, which, I don't know, it probably plays better live than the next song, which is one of their larger hits, Mysterious Ways. As I'm watching it on the DVD, I'm thinking, I can't say this song has aged very well. It's, I guess the movement of the song just feels very sluggish. Even though Edge's guitar is cool, it's very slow to me. It takes a long time to get where it's supposed to be going. And at that point, it's all right. It's just not my favorite. You know what I mean? Now we drop into a second encore. We come out with All Because of You. Then they go into Original of the Species, Yahweh, and we close it with 40. What we don't see is Trash, Trampoline, and the Party Girl, which he brought a member of the audience up on stage to play on the May 9th show when I saw him, but they didn't include it on the video. I don't know why. It was a great moment. Maybe they couldn't get the rights from the person. Maybe they couldn't track down the person that they pulled up on stage, so they couldn't get a waiver signed. That's the way things go sometimes. All in all, this concert sounds fantastic. It looks great. This wasn't a Blu-ray that I watched. This was just a DVD, although I did see it in person, in personal HD. That's what I thought about the first time that I saw U2. Oh, I'm leaving something out. I'm leaving out when I returned back to the hotel, ran into my parents back at the hotel after the concert. And I remember specifically telling them that was the closest concert I've witnessed to a religious experience. And if you get a chance to see U2, you may feel the same way. If you're a fan of U2 and you've seen them live, you know what I'm talking about. If you've got zero interest in U2 and you just don't like the guys, don't waste your time. But if you're borderline, hey, I like them okay, hey, I don't hate them, you got to check out a live U2 show, man. They are fantastic. Fantastic live. And they're one that I would say you should put on your bucket list if they're a reasonable distance, a day's drive, 500 miles away from where you live, and you've got the means to get there, go see U2 perform live. I loved it. I love live music. I love making these videos. Again, if you haven't smashed the subscribe button, I would appreciate you doing so. My name's Chris King. There's another video coming up right now. I love live music.